It shouldn't be assumed that, okay, this scene needs a wide, a tight, and a two-shot or something. You know, like, standard coverage is helpful and it can very much come in handy, and sometimes you need to rely on it, but I never want to assume or blanket statement a movie with, okay, get coverage, then do something creative. I think the shots should be a script in and of themselves, and you're reading the movie visually after reading it on paper. The two projects I have at Sundance this year are a feature in the midnight section called Greener Grass, directed, written, and starring Jocelyn DeBoer and Dawn Lube. And the other project I have is a short film called Lockdown, written and directed by Celine Held and Logan George. They couldn't be more different from one another. And I kind of like that as a cinematographer. I like that you get to dip your toes into kind of two pools at the same time. Greener Grass is very meticulously made. It's full of artifice. It's full of constructs, sets, brought in golf carts and big hedges and flowers and poppy colors. Me and the production designer and the costume designer collaborated very heavily so in production to make this world seem larger than life, hyper real, and a dreamscape. And we used long lens zooms, we used 24 to 290 and heavy filtration, like a 2 black pro mist mixed with a 1 low con. So the blacks are milky, it is bloomy, it looks like an 80s dream, and it's goofy. And the cinematography helps accentuate some of that goofy character while also having dark undertones. It's this like fine balance of silly and scary. The other project, Lockdown, is very different. It's a lot of handheld, it's very realistic, it's made to feel like you are in a high school with these kids and you're experiencing their nervousness, and so it's treated very straightforward. The lighting is very natural, the camera works very natural, it doesn't really emphasize itself, it's sort of just there to immerse the audience in the story. I'm from Flushing, Queens, New York, and the city was definitely a big part of how I became a cinematographer. I grew up skateboarding, and if you don't know, New York City is like a mecca for street skateboarding. At the same time, I'd found my father's old SLR, like a film 35 millimeter SLR camera, and so I would take it with me, and I sort of learned it. I just picked it up off the shelf. I didn't really know how it worked, and I remember my first roll came out totally black, and you'd think that'd be enough to deter me, but I don't know, I figured it out. The guy at the lab kind of gave me a tip or two, and my dad gave me a tip or two, and I started reading on it, and then I started taking pictures of me and my friends, and then doing videos of me and my friends. There's something that like clicked, and then I thought, okay, forget like skateboarding and all that. I'm gonna just move forward. I wanna apply to film school with this, and I wanna try to see what happens with this. After college, I moved out to Los Angeles, and I would DP on the side on spec stuff, on indie stuff, most of the time for free or less than minimum wage, just to build up a reel and a site and meet people. And then to pay the bills, I would second AC, first AC, camera op, anything I could do to stay on set, meet directors, meet producers. And eventually those two things kind of merged into a career where I could financially sustain myself and start making work I was proud of. My process for any project always starts with the creative. So even if I've worked with the filmmaker before, or it's someone new reaching out kind of blind or through a friend, I always just say, send me the script. I just want to read that. I want to immerse myself in that. And it's such a fun moment because it's the truest moment to when I will be like the audience. It's the first time I'm seeing this. I don't know what to expect. And so that's really exciting. And I usually go through the script without marking down any notes, trying not to associate any visuals yet, and just absorbing it, soaking it up, seeing what's in the writing, what's in the character work. And then from there, I'll go through it again, and I'll start saying, okay, what does this scene maybe look like? What's in this scene? Now that I know where this movie's going, what do I think the intention of the scene was? Just like an actor might, or a production designer, I think all key collaborators need to keep in mind what a writer and a director is thinking about when a script is formed. And that will better inform you as to, okay, what lens should I use? How far should the camera be from the subject? How many shots should be in the scene? Because if you know what the character wants, then you can help the camera emphasize that. You can help the lighting emphasize that, and you can apply that to the whole story. For greener grass, we used Alexa Mini with Ingenue Optimo 24-290, as well as ZEISS Super Speeds and Standard Speeds. And for the short lockdown, we used Alexa Mini with Canon Cinema Primes and Optimo 24-290 as well. On greener grass, I had 2 weeks of prep on the feature. So I actually had to go with a lot of gut instincts. So I kind of just dived right into shot listing as soon as I could, because I knew the shot list would inform the types of lenses I would need. I ended up using a bunch of Kodak film emulating LUTs, and I would actually choose specific ones per scene. If there were ones that were very poppy in color, like a Fuji stock, for example, we ended up using that a lot of the time for like day exteriors. So we usually had like a day exteriors poppy look. We'd have like a night interiors sort of desaturated look. And so we were able to kind of program LUTs from scene to scene, which is really great. And I'd kind of show the directors what was available, and we'd kind of pick and choose together. Once the shot list was finished and we knew, okay, there is a oneer that starts on someone's mouth in a mirror, and we zoom all the way out, reveal her bedroom, and then see her family in the background and zoom into them and boom down. You know, right there I say, okay, I need a long lens zoom that can fit in the bathroom. I need it to be on a dolly with a hydraulic arm that can boom. And so I try to pick the tools after the creative vision has been set, as opposed to the other way around and saying, well, all we have are 3 primes, or we've chosen these anamorphic lenses, so we have to make it work. You know, I'd rather pick the right tools for the job. So we went with the 24-290 because it's a lens I've used a lot. It has a bit of like barreling and distortion, and I think that was really nice on a movie like this when the world is very distorted and wacky. But there were night interiors and night exteriors and small scenes like car rigs on golf carts or a lot of interior housework, and that zoom just doesn't always practically fit on a set, and it uses a lot of light. You might want to shoot it at a 4 or 5/6 for most scenes. So I knew we needed primes as well, and there would be a lot of standard coverage, and so I thought super speeds and standard speeds would actually be a good match for that camera system, or that lens camera combo. Mainly because they're lenses I know how to manipulate them and get the look I want from them, the sharpness and the softness I want. And in addition, I just think they're beautiful. I kind of love super speeds. I just think they're magical lenses that are pretty utilitarian. The synergy between lensing and lighting is essential for cinematographers to be aware of and to try to harness as best they can to tell the story they are. Oftentimes, the lenses you use have varying characteristics from others you could choose that involve things that will affect your lighting, like contrast. So if you're using older low-con lenses, you might need to use more negative fill, you might not need as much bounce, you might try to bring some blacks back into the image, or you might embrace that and say, hey, we don't need any fill because these lenses are kind of low-con and you're getting more detail than you normally would with then, let's say, you know, super contrasty and beautiful ZEISS master primes. And so it also affects your flares. You might not like some of the flares you get if you're, you know, sort of choosing older optics. Or you might embrace that and say, hey, let's shine a light into the lens every single take because it's gonna look so cool and it's gonna give it this sci-fi feel or something. So yeah, it's very important to be aware of the lenses you're using because it's gonna inform your lighting and your look. I think the best thing that an aspiring cinematographer can do, whether you're coming out of film school or didn't even go to film school, is just hustle and be friendly and be willing to put yourself out there. I don't think anyone gets anywhere by showing up with a sense of entitlement or with a sense of, I've been here, I've done that, I'm gonna do my own thing. I think I've only gotten to where I am by relying on others, by being willing to sacrifice my time and maybe even paycheck to be on a project what you're doing on a set as a DP requires a lot of trust from your producer that you're not going to waste thousands, maybe millions of dollars. It requires a lot of trust from your directors saying, hey, you're not going to make me look bad. If anything, you're going to make me look better than my last DP or my last project looked. So people are putting a lot of trust in you. And I think if you're taking that trust and abusing it, you're not going to be hired for very long. You know, I think if you're taking that trust, running with it, telling people you can trust me, I'm a good person, I'm gonna take care of you and the actors and the crew, and everyone's gonna feel better at the end of this movie, everyone's gonna like how it looks, everyone's gonna feel like they were taken care of, that goes just as far as making a beautiful close-up or a lighting design that's colorful and vivid. You know, you need to be a good straight shooter who is willing to, I think, take the slack of other departments and your team leaders and do it with a smile on your face. I think that goes a really long way in this industry.